Welcome back, and joining us for a look at what moved markets today is Robert Towell from Sasfin Securities. Thank you so much for your time, Rob. The market's quite mixed today. What is the source of this market indecisiveness today?
Locally on our market, still very low volumes. We did about 13.5 billion today, so still low volumes on our market. And you're starting to see, people are undecided about platinum and where platinum's going. So you've seen a bit of indecision whether, you can purchase into platinum and into commodities. And then locally, people are still worried about South Africa. We've got the State of the Nation speech this week, and obviously elections. So there's not a lot of conviction in the markets at the moment on our local front, and therefore you're starting to see quite choppy trade. If one big fund comes in to buy on a certain day, you have quite a good day. If they're not there, generally weak days. So thin volume and undecided buyers in the market at the moment.
All right. Well, let's cross over to China, because we did have Alibaba shares actually taking a dip today after the tech company missed on revenue estimates. I'm just wondering about your general view on Chinese stocks, because they are undervalued to the point where even the government investment fund decided that they're going to be buying stocks from those Chinese stock markets to offset the selling that we have seen. So, just your general view on if, these dips would maybe provide a buying opportunity for long-term good stocks or not?
If you take a long-term view, it's very tempting to buy the Chinese stocks at these levels. Alibaba, Tencent, very good companies, well-run companies. They have they've got quite a few big industrial companies as well, which are very undervalued as well. So it's very tempting to buy into these companies on a valuation point of view. But the sentiment, and especially from the US side, is that people are exiting out of China. And because of that, and because of the flow of funds, it's difficult to see an uptick in these equity prices, in the short term. If you did take a long-term view, and secondly, your view is that China wants to have a strong economy and doesn't want to, stop their semi-capitalistic side of the economy, these are good levels to buy. But it's a very difficult call to make long-term whether you want to go in now or not. Personally, I think, if you did buy Alibaba or Tencent and you took a 3-year view, you'll be higher in 3 years than you are now.
All right, I get that, but also go in with caution, because there are still a lot of risks there politically and economically. Let's come back to the JSE and look at Sappi. It came out with its quarterly earnings today. The quarter ended December. It seemed that everything was in the red. Sales went down 23%, core profit slumping 46%. Got worse as you got to the bottom line, where when looking at the headline earnings, they went from a profit to a loss compared to the December quarter in 2022. Of course, we did see that share price losing over 3%. Not surprising at all, right?
No, it's not surprising. They did mention that their numbers were going to be weak for this quarter. Last year they were in the process of selling 2 mills in Europe. They had got a really good price initially on paper for those 2 mills, and would have allowed them to do a lot of adjustments to their businesses, and that deal fell through. Because of that deal falling through, it's set back quite a lot of projects that they wanted to do going forward, and you've seen it in the numbers now. So they couldn't expand the businesses where they really wanted to expand, and they had to spend money on closing down those mills rather than selling those mills. So it's been a difficult probably 6 months for Sappi, but all in all, the business is well structured at the moment. Dissolving pulp has got a very good high demand worldwide, and that's a growing part of their business. I think it's an opportunity probably to enter into Sappi at these levels. If you got into the low 40s, maybe 39 or 40, I think if you take a year view out from here, they're looking relatively good as the world economy starts to recover as well.
Yeah, and maybe going in this downward cycle, and when everybody's leaving the share, going in the opposite direction. Rob, Vodacom, I'm not sure how market moving this is. Please call me Matt. It's been going on for a very long time. Are investors still paying attention to this? Of course, as we had a decision yesterday from the Supreme Court of Appeal of South Africa, basically dismissing Vodacom's appeal. There is something that investors are watching and maybe thinking that could impact Vodacom significantly at some point.
Well, Vodacom offered the plaintiff about 50 million rand and they've come back, and then they won the case to say that he should have got 5% of all revenue generated from that, and it works out to 205 billion rand,
Yeah.
and 5% of that is 20 billion rand. If Vodacom had to pay a 20 billion rand, that would definitely move the needle. It would, it would be a problem for Vodacom. I can't see an individual being paid 20 billion rand for something like that, where they haven't done anything for 20 years, and it was really an idea. But definitely they're going to have to up how much they're going to pay him.
Yeah.
What number that is, it's too difficult for me to say. But I don't think it'll move the needle unless it starts to get, above $1 billion rand.
Yeah, it seems that.
So, possibly they can enforce that, but it would be detrimental to the whole of Vodacom's business.
Yeah.
So for the courts to instill that would be quite impressive.
Yeah, it seems that there's still quite some court action and negotiation to be expected there. Let's get to your stock pick for today, Rob. What will it be?
Well, if we stay local, I still think that the banks are a good place to be. They've come down and sold off quite a lot in the last month and a half, and today they were pretty weak across the board. So low 60s for FirstRand. You're going to get a solid dividend from them of about 6 to 7%. And I think you'll get 10% growth off these levels. So I think 15% for the year. And I think that SA banks in general, but FirstRand would be my pick there.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and for your analysis on what has been moving our investors' money today. That was Robert Towell from Sasfin Securities.